Hey there, everybody. Welcome into this edition of ESPN FC's Extra Time with a stern-looking Craig Burley, a happy Ale Moreno here in studio.
If there was any more faces on that graphic, you'd be jealous.
No, that's not true. I'm a team player. I'm what we like to call the team player.
How come you're not using the guns anymore?
Because my hands are just, very busy. I'm juggling a lot of things. Natum and Jan with us as well. I think the first one's kind of for you, Jan. Was Bellingham ever on the cards for Liverpool, or is the story tonight a bluff? What is Jude Bellingham's future?
What I can tell you is that from my good sources here in Germany, I've been told that Liverpool have sent an offer for Jude Bellingham. That Jude Bellingham, the roulette is open. They have started slowly. Borussia Dortmund has tried to tie him up. They tried to keep him. He's a young lad. They saw this is a player that could be here for a longer time, but Liverpool has put in an offer for him. It's also in Germany now a bit against Bellingham's body language lately, and I spoke to one guy at Dortmund. Isn't that the fact always when there's something wrong with someone leaving Dortmund? There's always something wrong with them. But Jude Bellingham, the roulette is open, and there will be more offers coming, and we expect him going in this summer. Do I think that Liverpool will get him? No, I don't think so. I think that there will be maybe second or third best.
Yeah, there's a report tonight that Liverpool have pulled out because of the high cost for Bellingham. Natum, given their past performances, can we expect City to beat Madrid and against all odds lose to an Italian team in the final? Okay.
Good question.
Fantastic question. Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah, great. Obviously, they need to beat Bayern in that second leg first, but I don't know. I think they're in a good spot, and they've got that number 9, as the guys were saying on the show, which makes a big, big difference because he can bail them out. But they have that pedigree. They can get there. And I think the interesting thing would be, should they make it to the final? Imagine if Napoli get there. Now you've got two teams doing it for the first time. A potential first-time winner. That would be interesting. But I'm sure there's fans of other teams who would disagree with that. But I think they can do it. And that was a great start today. Hopefully, from my perspective, they can keep that going.
Always playing it straight down the middle, Natum and Nua. Never leans one way or another.
At least if Rodri knows he'll be playing the final if they get there. After the omission.
Yes, 2019.
Good decision that was.
Chelsea game.
We talked about the tinkering there from Pep.
And by the way, Natum just mentioned that Manchester City has a number 9 that we've already discussed. So does Napoli.
Yep.
So if Napoli were to make it to
assuming
the final,
health, right?
Yes, assuming that he's available. He's a top striker as well, Victor Osimhen. So it would make it for quite a matchup of two teams that like to attack, that like to get in transition, that have a lot of attacking talent. It would be ideal. I don't know how Natum feels about it, but I think it would be an ideal matchup.
Yeah, I like it for the neutral anyway.
All right, Napoli City, let's just do it. Forget the other games. Come on, Napoli City, let's just do it. Come on.
How does Bayern look after sacking Nagelsmann for a chance at the treble, just to find themselves out of the German Cup and the Champions League? Of course, not yet out of the Champions League in the space of 1 week. And how does Nagelsmann look in this situation? Go ahead, Craig.
I'd say I thought it was a short question.
Yes.
I didn't look at the graphic.
No.
For a long question. Is it really the case, and Jan can correct me or not, but is it really the case you bring a manager in just for a 3-month period of trophies? It has to be a longer term thing. Look, if he came in and they'd won the Pokal and they win the league and the Champions League, they're brilliant. The chances of that happening slim. But if they go out to City, which looks likely, they've got a fight on for the Bundesliga. But surely it's a longer term thinking project than just to bring him in for the end of this season. No? Am I wrong?
Yeah, they're paying him a lot of money. Jan, how does this make Nagelsmann look? I think that's the other part of this question, right? It definitely makes him look good.
Interesting, because you can say that when you've seen them against Freiburg in the Cup and you have seen them in the Champions League against Manchester City, they have a right to fire Nagelsmann because the inconsistency in this team is terrible this season. Dortmund took 10 points of them in the start of this year. But to Craig's point, it's interesting because Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said when Kovac came, they said, this is the start of an era in Bayern. Okay, fired. Hansi Flick, this is the start of an era. Well, he's leaving for Germany after being fighting with Salihamidzic. Julian Nagelsmann, wow, a young coach. This is the start of an era. So I don't think Tuchel wants to hear that it's the start of an era kind of thing. I think that if with the end of the season now, out of 2 tournaments, there is just only 1 left. They're not sure that they win the Bundesliga either. I think that Bayern got to have a good look at themselves, do the analysis on the situation in the management. Because Salihamidzic, they celebrate him to bring in all these good players. Cancelo, fantastic player. Mane, fantastic player. And the biggest game of the season against Manchester City, they're both on the bench. So are all these gang of Ajax players they brought in. Because the card, fire the manager, is already played. So the next thing is Salihamidzic or maybe Oliver Kahn that shows that you just can't take over the biggest brand in Germany just because you were a player at that club.
Let's just recognize for a second the quality of pronunciation by Jan on Salihamidzic.
Yes.
Given the standard in this
Yes,
show
the
with
precedent.
the president of Stevie Nicol.
Hamidzic.
Hamana,
I mean,
The best part of Stevie was not the mispronunciation. We've all done that.
Yeah.
Was the immediate, did I get it right?
I don't think so, Steve. I don't think so.
it's not quite a tongue tie though, is it?
No.
Salihamidzic. It's pretty an easy one. I mean, I know Dan.
You
struggles-
said it.
You can't say it. I know Dan struggles with Çalhanoğlu.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, but
And he machine guns it out. Çalhanoğlu.
Hamana, chich.
Our next question comes from Brandon, who has a hashtag Fuera Tata in his profile, so he must be a fan of the Mexican national team.
Okay.
Thoughts on Camavinga playing somewhat well at left back? Of course, we want him in midfield, and so does he, but mentally must not be easy to play out of position. Ale, what do you think of Camavinga at left back?
Well, a couple of ways to look at this. If you're Camavinga, you want to get on the field, there is a position available for you at left back, and nobody seems to be getting a hold of it for Real Madrid, and so therefore you may not be as comfortable as you are in the midfield. However, if you can do the job and Carlo Ancelotti feels like you can do a job, then you raise your hand and say, oh, I'll do the job. That keeps me on the field. The problem is, and this has happened, I think, to all of us at some point in our careers, where we're asked to do a different role. And you do that role well enough to where now you're kind of considered as part of the rotation in that particular role, but you're taken out of the rotation in the role that you want to have, right? Because they're no longer considering you for this conversation. Out of sight, out of mind, go ahead and play left back. If you're Camavinga, you're a central midfielder, that's where you want to play. But the line to play central midfielder at Real Madrid is very long. So for now, take left back and do the best you can.
If he plays Valverde, if he plays Rodrigo to be more on the front foot, then Valverde plays in the midfield usually, so Camavinga. It's pick or choose, left back. If he decides to play a bit more defensive, and you know, we saw Valverde in the last year in winning the Champions League and La Liga, did a great job on that right-hand side, supplementing the front line and helping out defensively. Then there's another spot in the midfield, be it Camavinga, Tchouaméni or whoever, but it's just a circumstance at the moment, and he's done such a good job at left back. So you seem a little bit disinterested.
No, I want to ask Nadim about,
That was actually disinterested. I'll be quite frank, I was disinterested with my own answer.
I was going to ask Nadim about
Cracked on anyway.
how difficult it must be to transition to defense, but we know anybody can play defense, right?
What?
Yeah, easiest position on the field, man. You know, go play fullback, it's easy. You know what I mean? Thanks for that, Sammy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, I love you. Jan,
Roomie
roomie
in Qatar.
Yeah. To be fair, and Nadim will attest to this, I'm also a defender, so I'm taking a shot at myself there. Jan, how...
Let's just roll this back a little bit. You are also a defender.
Yeah.
Defender of what?
Well, when we play, you know, we play our little pickup games in
Defender of
Qatar.
Pickup games.
Should we have a reprisal
Actually,
of your defending style?
Yeah, I know you know it. I know you love it. You love it. I'm gonna
May I please?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is as Seb gets in the defensive position, and I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating.
It's not true.
Tiny.
I get low, I get intense, I get in your face. Does that surprise anybody? But Natum can attest it's pretty effective. I don't think Natum's team ever beat mine when we played in
listen,
Qatar.
you're undefeated. Yeah, you're undefeated in Qatar. Congratulations.
Still holding on to that.
Very well played. Yeah, for sure.
You bring intensity, I'll say that.
I do. Jan, how poor was Upamecano tonight? Why did Tuchel not move Pavard to center back and put Mazraoui or Cancelo at right back?
Upamecano was so poor that after the game, I expected some of the staff to help him find a tunnel and find the dressing room. I have never seen in my memory, at least, but I'm coming to an age where my memory is not that long, that a player on that level can be so nervous in a game. And as we were speaking in the show, Bayern Munich had a great idea. Okay, Upamecano is so nervous. Let's give him the ball every time. Let's give him the ball. We try to play out from the back. Terrible. I mean, just shows you when Tuchel has to look at the bench, he's seeing nobody there at the moment is better than Upamecano. But I do think that there will be consequences because Tuchel likes to take out people. Although he said after the game today he got in love with his team in a new way. So, okay. I noting what he said. Upamecano was terrible. And the replacements, he could take in Pavard into the middle. Yes, he could have done that. But I think that as a coach, there is a balance between when you're having a terrible 20 minutes that he did. If you take him off, if you take a defender off, you kind of give him kind of a red flag on his head somehow.
I feel like it was the definition of a shocker, right?
Yeah, it was, but it can happen, and confidence is an amazing thing. But you look at the Haaland goal as well, the Alvarez cross, I believe it was, from the set piece. We're just talking about one player. When John Stones, I think it was John Stones at the back post.
Yes, he was.
Knocked the header back across. Alphonso Davies was doing this.
Wasn't Davies' best game.
Not even, he was ducking away. He didn't even challenge up with John Stones, try and put him off. Maybe John Stones doesn't get the header as accurate as he would want. If you put a challenge in, he was ducking down. So there was some real bonkers decisions from this Bayern team defensively. But as I say, Jan Sommer made some. I mean, the Upamecano, after he made all those mistakes, and then he wellied one back to Sommer and went out for a corner.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just one of those, It would be interesting to see how they're going to deal with it.
Right, what do you do now? Yeah, what's next?
Because if he bends Upamecano, which I don't think he will, because he's actually a good player,
You could lose
right?
a player, right?
He's a good player, right? Just had a terrible 45. You've got to be careful because you have to look at your replacements and say, right, I've got to tread carefully here. The guy's had a bad night, but I need him going forward. So
to further your point about that, this is not just an Upamecano problem. He had a nightmare, well documented. We talked about it. In that same goal, John Stones wins the header. Erling Haaland, the big guy, right? Tall, blonde guy, can't miss him with the long hair. Erling Haaland, completely, absolutely wide open. No Bayern Munich player anywhere around him. How does that happen? It's not just one player. One player was a major issue, but there are issues across the board here.
Natum is, I think this is tongue-in-cheek, is Grealish City's best defender.
I think he does a lot of defensive work. Yes, he does, but nobody wants to see that, so you don't really pay attention to it. But he's good. He's fitting in. He seems to be worth the money these days, and he's doing particularly well because he's one of the first names on the team sheet. So, people watching him. Some people hating on him, but fair play. He's earned the right to be one of the best players at Man City right now.
There it is. Natum Anua confirms Jack Grealish is Manchester City's best.
I think it's off the back of that tracking back against Liverpool again tonight.
Yeah.
And he's willing to work hard, tracks back. And we've talked about him a lot in this show. And he's not had a bashing, but he's myself and others have been critical. It's taken him a while to settle in, but I don't think we can deny he's playing some of the football that City hoped he would when they signed him. And he's a great outlet for them, and we're starting to see end product from him as well. And he just looks as if he's grown in confidence. It always felt as if he was just waiting to be taken off, right? He was the guy who's going to be taken off, and now he's like the fulcrum of everything they do well on the ball. So fair play to him. He's turned it around, and if he adds a few more goals to his game, you never know.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.